Welcome back to Cockadoodle Coo, where we discuss a very real threat to all humans, the chicken apocalypse. I'm your host, Pete Wallace, and I'm here to sound the alarm, raise awareness, and prevent catastrophe.
Episode 36, The Cleveland Browns, Ayam, Cemani, and A Tale of Two Cities.
When the most well-executed espionage happens, you have no idea it was even carried out. Today, I will explain how multiple NFL owners, a Hollywood screenwriter, a Super Bowl winning coach, and others were involved in a devious plan to turn human against human, divert millions in taxpayer money, and weaken government defenses. A plan that has the stench of chicken deception written all over it. Today's story begins in the battleground state of Ohio. No, I'm not referring to the circus-like world of American politics. I'm referring to a more covert yet far-reaching chess match waged on the shores of Lake Erie, but ultimately designed to inflict financial burden upon large city governments everywhere, crippling their capabilities. When did you last see a major U.S. city announce anything resembling a poultry security and awareness program or dangers of chicken farming initiative? Exactly. So pay attention. I realize if you're just joining us for the first time, this can be overwhelming and maybe even sound a little ridiculous. I can assure you, this is quite serious. It took weeks of focused research to uncover and piece this together, and as always, we've provided links in the show notes. This is the tale of two cities that no one is willing to tell. Yes, this involves the NFL and the cities of Cleveland and Baltimore. Now, one might easily conclude that the NFL's Cleveland Browns have been so poorly run for so long that chickens themselves must be running the organization. And who would blame you for arriving at that conclusion? However, how many of you have seen the 1989 film Major League? It's a sports comedy about a new owner of Major League Baseball's Cleveland Indians, and the owner's plan to intentionally sabotage the team in order to perform so poorly the ownership could move the team. Too far-fetched to be true? Well, the film Major League was written by one David S. Ward, who was born in Rhode Island. Yes, a Rhode Island Red. And he got a degree from Pomona College, whose mascot is the Sage Hens. Red Flags 1 and 2. Mr. Ward did live in Northeast Ohio for a time and claims to have been an Indians fan. But things are just a little too coincidental. So why Ohio? Well, first, need I remind you of the Ohio National Poultry Show I mentioned a couple episodes ago? It's the most prestigious on the poultry show circuit, and it takes place every year in central Ohio, just a couple hours south of Cleveland. This poultry proximity already puts innocent Ohioans on edge. Second, Ohio is a football-crazy state, and New York businessmen Art Modell and Al Lerner used that passion against Ohioans. I believe Mr. Ward as strategist and Mr. Modell and later Mr. Lerner as the ones executing the plan worked together all along. One central question that may never be answered is, who had the thought first? By the way, Mr. Modell's career before the Browns was in advertising and television production. He made good money, but it's worth noting that one firm where he was a partner ended up dissolving, and the other, where he was senior VP, was handed a 58-count indictment of fraud at one point. But I'm sure neither had anything to do with Mr. Modell's business style or any indication of self-serving intentions. You may hear Cleveland sports fans refer to the move, but unofficially or internally, it was referred to as Operation Fly the Coop. Let me walk you through it all to illustrate how it played out. The Cleveland Browns had done quite well since their beginnings in 1946. But Mr. Modell and a group of partners whose identities may never be known purchased the team in 1961 and began their deceptive game of chess. The coach was Hall of Famer Paul Brown, who had won 7 championships and who the team was named after. Well, Mr. Modell fired him. The '64 Browns did win the NFL title a couple years later, but primarily with Paul Brown's players and system, and the new coach was likely just an unwitting pawn. Obviously unhappy with this success, in 1965, Mr. Modell essentially forced Hall of Fame running back Jim Brown into early retirement. To this day, the Browns have never even been back to the title game. A little foreshadowing. who did Cleveland defeat in that '64 title game? The Baltimore Colts. Let's jump to the 70s. 1970 was a pivotal year with the AFL-NFL merger. The Cincinnati Bengals entered the league, with Coach Paul Brown running the show, clearly trying to protect Ohio's football fans. The Pittsburgh Steelers, who had been perennial doormats for decades, somehow became a dynasty in the 70s. In contrast, the perennial contender Cleveland Browns struggled. Mr. Modell and Steelers owner Art Rooney were good friends. Coincidence? Then came the 80s. The Browns started seeing some success and got too close to the Super Bowl, multiple times. So, Mr. Modell drove out the coach. Again. Meanwhile, one night in 1984, without any notice, the Baltimore Colts literally left town in the middle of the night and moved to Indianapolis. Mr. Modell publicly appeared to be a vocal critic of the move. But Mr. Modell stepped up his game big time in the 90s. Let's take a quick breather before going any further. Stepping up his game big time in the 90s, or as some have called them, the late 1900s, Mr. Modell made his next chess move and hired a coach to do his dirty work for him. One who had no previous head coaching experience, mind you, but who was previously on staff at the Baltimore Colts, ironically enough. His name? Bill Belichick. You may have heard of him. Coach Belichick proceeded to get rid of the Browns' immensely popular quarterback, Bernie Kosar. The quarterback who almost led the Browns to the Super Bowl. That quarterback. But wait, there's more. As acting landlord of Cleveland Stadium, Mr. Modell made life difficult for the Cleveland Indians, so they left and built their own beautiful modern stadium in another part of town. Remind you of the film Major League at all? Well, Mr. Modell was just getting started. In 1995, while the Pittsburgh Steelers got back to the Super Bowl again, and despite the city of Cleveland passing a bond to support a new stadium, Mr. Modell, with Mr. Lerner on the podium behind him, announced the Browns were moving to Baltimore, enraging the people of Northeast Ohio. Then, as soon as the team got to their new home, Mr. Modell unceremoniously fired Coach Belichick. I believe Belichick's eyes were opened in that moment. He went on to coach multiple Super Bowl winning teams, yes, but more importantly, his Patriots defeated this new Baltimore team 11 out of 15 times. That same year, in an unprecedented counter-move, the city of Cleveland sued to retain the Browns' name, colors, and history. Mr. Modell got a little cocky and tipped his hand by naming his team the Baltimore Ravens. Oh, I know, a raven is not a chicken. However, the Ayam Cemani is a unique breed of chicken from Indonesia. They have a dominant gene that causes hyperpigmentation, making the chicken mostly black, so they are often mistaken for ravens. How much you want to bet Mr. Modell's been to the Indonesian chicken church? At this point, you may ask, why Baltimore? Neither Delaware nor Rhode Island could support an NFL franchise, so just look at the surrounding areas. New York, Philadelphia, and Boston already had NFL franchises, so the next closest logical location? Baltimore. I thought this was fairly obvious. The bottom line, Mr. Modell's chess game fueled a proliferation of at least 12 new stadiums throughout the NFL. Using the NFL and City of Cleveland agreements promised to supply a team to Cleveland by 1999, several NFL franchises and other pro sports leagues coerced their respective cities to build new stadiums with public funds. Tens or hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayers' money that could have been used for security or education. This devious plan, conceived and carried out by Art Modell and Al Lerner and David Ward and their inadvertent or advertent pawns, as well as their feathered shadow supporters, placed a huge burden on the people of Ohio, Maryland, California, Minnesota, Washington, Connecticut, and more. Operation Fly the Coop left local governments weaker and more vulnerable as a result. Yet no one connected this to chickens. Brilliantly played. A brief prologue. Cleveland did end up with another NFL team, also called the Browns, but they have floundered ever since, particularly under current owner Jimmy Haslam. Now, it may be too soon to confirm his role or long-term plans, but with his revolving door of management and coaches and players, in addition to the FBI and IRS raiding his other businesses, clearly the feds have learned to monitor the situation closely. Good people of Northeast Ohio, stay alert, watch your backs. But know, we are with you. Take some time, let it sink in. This is bigger than you suspected, I know, but it is not insurmountable. If you suspect a friend or family member may be under chicken influence, by choice or by coercion, don't hesitate to speak up. We can bring them back. Thanks again for listening and for your support. As always, remember to eat chicken and eggs regularly and support local farmers and farmers markets whenever you can. Subscribe to this podcast and follow Cockadoodle Coo on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or our YouTube channel. Educate yourself. Share the knowledge. Together, we can prevent the unthinkable.